New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
Hello, my friends, and thank you for joining us for Spiritual Toolkit today. My name is Brock Ford, and I am your host. And joining me on the team is producer Peter Millar, and a shout out to our network founder, Robert Brzezinski. The idea for my show came from my sincere desire to be of support, a voice for the disenfranchised, the struggling, and hurting people within my reach, and to offer spiritual and ethical practices that help others transform their lives, relationships, and careers. And it's my hope that we can support others on their path to their passion, their dreams, and their best life, building a bridge of understanding, healing, and thriving for all. So we will have guests from all walks of life talking about real life and navigating its twists and turns and living triumphantly. So today, I'm very excited to have my guest, who is Reverend Dr. Angelo Pizzello, Senior Minister Emeritus and founder of Emerson Theological Institute, and a very wonderful dear friend of mine. Reverend Dr. Angelo is a professional educator and Superintendent Emeritus of the Bass Lake Joint Union School District. His academic degrees are BA, MA, PhD in School Administration, and his religious degree is Doctor of Religious Studies. Angelo became a religious science minister through Religious Science International and is the founder of the Positive Living Center of Central California. He's married to a wonderful woman that I just love and adore, Miss Stella, and they have two children, Anna and Nicole. Dr. Angelo has been named a New Thought Warden Award honoree for 2019. And the Warden Awards honor those who are empowering spiritual ideas and philosophies to change lives and make our planet a better place. Angelo also created Emerson Theological Institute in 1992 to share universal spiritual principles with anyone seeking a deeper understanding of their own divinity, their own divine identity, and the power of their thinking. Students must be, he says, open at the top, as Ernest Holmes called it, willing to grow spiritually, emotionally, intellectually, and socially. Angelo has dedicated his life to enlightening and uplifting others through education, and he has certainly uplifted my life. So with that said, let's welcome my dear friend, my mentor, my teacher, a man that I love very dearly, the amazing Reverend Dr. Angelo Pizzello, to Spiritual Toolkit.
Thank you, Brock, for those kind words. I really thank you so much.
I am so happy that you're here joining us on our show today, Angelo. I love you so much. You know that already. And you are an amazing person in my life. So thank you for being here.
You occupy a place in my heart as well, Brock. I love you too.
I received that, and thank you, Angelo. And I know that to be true because you've never taken your hand off of me since we met. And I really do appreciate that. So let's get started. If you don't mind, can we go sort of way back to your childhood and let's learn some personal things about you and help people know some things that maybe they didn't know about you. But give us a picture of what it was like growing up, where you grew up, and a little bit about your family and how that influenced your life.
Well, I grew up in Spokane, Washington, and my mother, Ann, and my dad, Philip, they really touched my heart and showed me and really led me into this New Thought belief system. Ironically, my dad was from Italy, and they were strong Catholics, both of them. So I literally went to a Catholic school. My dad fought in the First World War. He was in his 18 or 19 years old, and that's how he became a United States citizen. But he had such a kind, loving heart, and he owned he started a little grocery store, I was born and raised in that store. I had to go there and deliver groceries with my wagon, etc. But what I got from my dad was his kind, loving heart. He gave away groceries to people in need. He literally almost went under because he was giving more away than he was selling. But I learned from him that love energy is so very important in our life. And that's probably more important than anything else. It's more important than even funding or financing or that. So I really owe gratitude to him. And to my mother, Anne, who was an awesome lady and who was the typical Italian mom. She controlled the kids. We had 5 of us, and she cooked for us, and she was our disciplinarian as well. And I loved it. But anyway, it was a Catholic church, Catholic schools. We had pretty much run by Jesuits and holy names. In fact, my sister became a holy names, and so it was pretty embedded in my philosophy there for a while. And so anyway, after a few years, I got my degrees and went through college. And I went through Gonzaga University at the time, which is a Jesuit school as well. And finally, I took on a school district in Northern California. And during that time, I had a business manager that just loved how I was being a principal superintendent. I was always in the classrooms. I told the secretary, I drove her nuts. I told the secretary on Fridays, I'm not going to be here. And if anyone comes to this office and my door's open, they don't need to have an application or a permission. They're allowed to come into my office and talk to me at will. Anyway, Joe Vonderchek was the business manager, and he had an office out in the front yard there too. So anyway, Joe one day came to me and said, Angelo, I love your love energy. My gosh. He says, what church do you go to? I said, well, I'm kind of a fallen away Catholic. He said, why don't you come to our church? It's called New Thought, Science of Mind Church. And why don't you come? Because your philosophy and ours is just one and the same. I said, no, I kept saying no to him, but he kept bugging me. So after a period of time, I said, Joe, come into my office. I will go this Sunday. So I walked into this New Thought church. It was a Science of Mind church, and it was awesome. They were talking about forgiveness and the love energy. And I thought, oh my gosh, I've come home. So that's how I became a New Thought, ultimately a New Thought minister.
Well, thank God you walked into that church, because look what's happened since then.
Well, since then, I again finished my degrees and applied for a job in Northern California, and so but see, at that time I was still a veteran of the United States Marine Corps. I forgot, I left that out of my thing.
Do you know, I was actually talking with Missy Higginbotham yesterday, and I let her know that you were going to be on the show, and she actually told me that you were a Marine major and made sure that I put it into my notes so that we could bring it up. So she wanted to make sure that you talked about that. So tell us a little, what was that like being a Marine major? I couldn't imagine that. So,
well, when I was in high school, and a friend of mine taught me, he had a plane, a Cessna 172, I believe. And he said, I want you to earn your pilot's license. And I was like 18 years old. I said, sure, I'd love to do that. So anyway, I got my pilot's license. I love flying. So one day, a friend of mine was going to Fairchild Air Force Base to apply for a job. And so I attended. But anyway, basically, I love planes. I love flying. So maybe I'll join the Marine Air Reserve. So there's a Marine Air Reserve office there at Fairchild. So I walked in and I said, I'd like to join. So I joined the Marine Air Reserve.
How old were you when you did that?
Oh gosh, I was in my 20s.
20s, okay.
And so anyway, so I go in and Quantico, Virginia. I ended up going to Quantico, Virginia. I got my basic training in San Diego, and I wasn't anywhere near an airplane. It was all running and walking, 35-mile hikes, etc. But then finally, I really asked if I could be stationed at some kind of an air base so I could just be around planes. My desire was, someday maybe I'll be able to fly in a jet airplane. So, and I did get my chance ultimately when I was stationed there in North Carolina. And this pilot said, "Would you come and join? You have the second seat, and we'll get you some experience here." So I was always working on the flight line, et cetera, doing the grunt work. So I said, "Yeah, I'd love to." So I got in there, and I'm like, "Gosh!" And he let me take the controls. It was like a dream control. Oh, he was controlling the plane, and I thought, "I love this." But anyway, that's how I got into the Marine Corps, was just to be part of the Marine Air Reserve, and I spent 4 years in active duty and 14 years in reserve. But it wasn't my life's choice. My choice was to become a teacher, and I ultimately got a job in a school district, and that leads me to what happened after that.
Well, I knew that. Yeah, keep going. I knew that you were a teacher and that you were in a school district, but keep going. Tell us more.
Well, I got this job, which is kind of cool, and it was a little one school district in Northern California. So I was the principal and also the superintendent.
Wow.
Plus, I did my thing. I loved doing it, and at one time I wanted to. It was growing, so I wanted to build another school, and so I went and approached the legislature. Dianne Feinstein's office was there in Fresno, nearby. So I approached her office, and she helped me get some funding, not only for my school district, but also there's another school in Yosemite National Park that I really needed some funding for as well, because I was pretty much involved by then in the business of being a community activist.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So
you know what? I heard that you saved the library or something, didn't you? Or you built the
well,
library?
what happened was, I really, thanks to my dad, my dad's the one that encouraged me to do this. And then, of course, I married and met Stella, who really was supportive of me being involved with the community. So I was on like 10 different committees, and I was on the library board for, gosh, almost 30 years, by the way.
Wow.
And so I was able to get some funding, not only for the school in we were called Wawona, it was in Yosemite National Park, through Dianne Feinstein's staff, but I also got funding for our district as well, which is kind of cool. So I became kind of like a political junkie.
Well, and look at you now. All of that was part of your path, part of your journey that made you who you are. And it's very interesting to hear about it. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I thought about politics many years ago, and then I realized, no, I couldn't do anything like that. So kudos to you.
It was tough initially. Luckily, I ran track when I was in high school, and I also played football. I was in really good shape. So when they had those 35-mile hikes, I had no problem at all. So I was able to get through that all right, and actually get commissioned to go ahead and to be part of the Marine Corps if I so desired. And I could have stayed on forever, but I decided to eventually resign my commission and go into teaching.
And how long did you teach, Angelo?
Oh gosh, I did 30 years. 30 years. And my wife Stella had 36 years. What was kind of a blessing to me is when I got in the Marine Reserve, they stationed me, and I had to attend meetings in California. So I got to the Fresno area. It was Oakhurst, and that's where I met my wife Stella. She was at when I took over a school district there in Oakhurst, and they had a meeting of all the new superintendents. It was a small school district, so I was the superintendent principal. And I met Stella at the county superintendent had a meeting where she invited all the superintendents, there were like 28 of them, to meet me as the new superintendent on the area. And so that's where I met Stella. And the very next day, I approached her and I said, "How about that? Could we go out and do something together. And that's how we became, well, eventually we got married, and she's been with me ever since, but it's been wonderful.
And thank God for her. She is a wonderful person and a wonderful partner for you.
Yeah,
as
she
well.
was also in the school business as well. She had a little school district. She was it was like 78 kids. It was a principal superintendency. In California, in the rural areas, the school districts are quite small. And there wasn't hardly any consolidation of the 20 districts. So many of them had superintendents, but they had maybe only one school. But it was a good experience.
Well, that same area, Oakhurst and Corsco, and I know where you were. Didn't you start a church there also?
Yes, what happened was I really am into this New Thought belief system, and I really started going a lot. So I decided, like we can enhance the lives of people worldwide and get rid of this negative stuff just with the love energy. And I get that from my dad again. The love energy, we need to somehow get the word out. And so I got together with a committee of about 7 of our people, and they said, let's start a school. And we were going to call it the Positive Living Institute. But on the way home one day from Fresno, I said, I love Ralph Waldo Emerson. I think I'm going to change it to Emerson Institute. So we changed the name to Emerson Institute.
So that's how that came about.
Started taking off. And so we started teaching classes, and I had, one other district part of it. And soon enough, we had other of the different New Thought organizations started contacting me, say, how do you get part of Emerson? And so finally we said, we'll just have a bunch of affiliates. Okay. But being in the school district, I didn't want the legal, the problem with being in charge of several of these New Thought churches, and the legal responsibilities would not what I wanted. So I said, if you want to be affiliated, that's fine, but we have no responsibility as far as your bylaws or your rules. We take no responsibility, but if you want to just be an affiliate of Emerson, that's cool. So we all of a sudden had like 30 of these centers, New Thought centers, contact me wanting to be part of the Emerson Institute. So it started growing real rapidly. And so ultimately we had quite a few in 26 states at the time, and now it's grown beyond that. But we even have a center in London, and that person in London he's in like 40 countries now. So Emerson's growing. A friend of mine said, you got to stop saying that Emerson is growing like cancerous growth.
Yeah, don't say that. but I get the point. It's fast and growing big. So
anyway, it's been kind of fun. But anyway, we had the school district in Yosemite National Park, and it really wasn't funded. And these people came to me. There were like only 80 residents there, and they said, we may have to close the school down. We can't afford it. I said, no, we can do it. Let me get a hold of Dianne Feinstein, who's our senator. Let me get a hold of her staff in Fresno, and we'll get some funding going here. So that's how I became pretty much involved with I became a political animal because they gave us funding, and it went to the president of the United States, and he approved the funding for this national park school. So anyway, I thought this is pretty awesome. So that's how I got involved with politics quite a bit, actually. Mm-hmm. Anyway, that was
really interesting. That was really interesting for me to hear, because I had no idea that you were involved in all of that and what the other part of your life was about. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, it was neat because we were able to create different things. I had groups of people wanting to be part of the team, and so we started a boys and girls club. And we did all kinds of good things. The library, of course, was my main thing because it's part of my educational process. But the Boys and Girls Club was just wonderful. We had lots of activities for the kids there. It was wonderful, but I really enjoyed it.
Speaking of that, teaching the kids and things of that nature. And since my show is called Spiritual Toolkit, and Peter actually helped me come up with that, because it came about from a sermon, a message that I did, and but Spiritual Toolkit became the name of the show. But since that is the name of the show, Angelo, you talked about forgiveness and love. Are those I know that those are two of yours because I see it exhibited in you when I'm around you. But those are two of your spiritual toolkits that you pull out of your toolkit, love and forgiveness. But what's one of your major tools that you pull out of your spiritual toolkit to utilize in your
Well,
life?
my major tool, and I like to speak. I talk too much.
Okay.
But my major tool is I like to let people know, because when I became a minister of religious science, I just Joe Vonderchek got me involved with it. I told you that he was my business manager.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I love the way you're running the school district. Therefore, you need to come to our church. Well, I loved it. It was great. The minister talked about forgiveness, and so that's what got me started in the goal that you were talking about. Is that I want to influence consciousness. You know, we can change the world just one person at a time through consciousness. And then, of course, with my Latin background, with having the nuns and the Jesuits, the word conscious, that means to know with, conscious, to know with. And I thought, you know, what I'd like to do is have an organization to do where we can impact the consciousness of as many people out there, one person at a time, where we can transcend their conscious from maybe fear and doubt into this love energy. So my goal was to do that, to open the door to consciousness, and then the idea, and I started preaching this. In fact, I started doing some talks. It just kind of led me into more speaking engagement type things. But I started talking to folks about at churches that that we're connected to all there is. We've forgotten who we are and what we are. We're a life form of the divine. The divine who's experiencing this human drama as each of us. My gosh, there's no reason for us to fear anything because and I used to, when I give a talk, I say, you know, we're the sons and daughters of the CEO of the universe, for goodness sake. So why are we in doubt or in fear? It's ridiculous. We can change things. And then I started preaching the idea that each of us is like it's an energy spark. Each of us is an energy spark in a field of energy that's connected to all there is. And that through our thought processes, that we actually have access to what I call the dimension of infinite possibilities and unlimited perfection. We're connected to all there is through our thought processes. My gosh, we can remind people of how powerful we are. Maybe we can change a little bit, you know? So
that would be wonderful.
The idea of Emerson Institute was Rebirth Emerson Institute, to be the vehicle to go worldwide. And I had no idea how it would take off. I had no idea. I just had this idea that we need to get the word out somehow and do our part in enhancing the consciousness of people in the universe. So we started doing that, and I did a little bit of talking and traveling. And that's how Emerson got started. The idea was to enhance consciousness to the love energy and to show people how powerful we are. Just amazing. It's wonderful.
And you've certainly done that, Angelo. You certainly have. And I know that with Emerson, I was a student. I don't know that everybody knows this, but because of my mentor, Martha Creek, introduced me to Angelo. And then Angelo said, let's get you in school. And I said, okay, let's go. And I might shed some tears talking about it, Angelo, but Angelo took my hand out of the hand of Martha, and he never let go of my hand. And he mentored me. He taught me. He was my teacher. We would do Zoom classes together, and just truly helped me navigate the path to my master's in interfaith religious studies, and then my doctorate in religious studies. And he guided me through that, and it is still guiding me to this day. So Angelo, I love you so much. And you and Martha truly are the two most, I don't know how to say it, but people that affected my life, that helped me change my life. And I saw, I had a calling. I didn't know what to do with that. I called Martha. Martha says, baby, let's call Angelo. I said, who's Angelo? and here we are today, years later. And thank you so much for being who you are and what you do. And and having Emerson. And I'll tell you that Emerson is not easy, y'all. It's not one of those schools that you just go in and get through really quickly. You've got to really do the work. And some of the books I remember reading, like Trollward, I would have to, and Joel Goldsmith, I would have
Mhm.
to call Angelo and say, Angelo, please help me understand this. I don't understand. It's too deep for me. And he would say, well, let's look at it this way, and you're just amazing. And you got me through. And I really appreciate it. And Emerson has become, I don't know if we should tell this to everybody yet, but I think I'm going to. But I am actually starting a diversity department for Emerson, and Missy and I and Angelo are going to be working on that. And so I'm very excited about being a part of that curriculum and starting that department as well. So, but talk a little bit about the Church Without Walls, because Brock Ford Life Ministry is an affiliate of Emerson Institute. So talk a little bit about the Church Without Walls, how you are supporting people like me who didn't have anywhere to go.
Yeah, the idea is we need to get the word out. And how do you do that? And as a school person, I thought, we do need a school. But in the California, the rules are you can't offer spiritual degrees without, unless you're owned, operated, and controlled by a church. That was the
Oh,
thing. Yeah, so that was the important thing is that they don't just allow you to willy-nilly have a degree. You don't want to be a degree mill, they would call it, and which
okay.
is illegal in California. So basically, I decided to start a couple churches. I started the Positive Living Center of Central California, and the Positive Living Center was a 501c3. And then later on, I thought, and it has to be owned, operated, and controlled by a church. So Emerson was controlled by the Positive Living Center. So one day I was with one of our ministers, Bob Hand is his name, and we were coming back from a conference, and Bob said, we need to have that church have Emerson in its name.
Mhm.
Positive, we love this Positive Living Center. It's wonderful. But why don't we also create a church that has Emerson's name? So that's how New Thought, Emerson New Thought Center was created on our trip back from Palm Desert. We
Wow.
created this. And so Bob, being a genius when it comes to 501c3s, he said, I'll get work on that, right? And we'll get a 501c3 that's called the Emerson New Thought Center, and it can be the church without walls. It
Hmm.
won't be, but you have to have a building though. So we used the Positive Center and told the State Department, the feds, that yes, we have Sunday services as well, and we combine our services with the Positive Center. So that was all legal, and so we were accepted as a New Thought church. In Emerson New Thought Center as a church without walls, and it's a 501c3 as well. That's how it became that. And then we wanted to offer this and have the congregation be these ministers who are out there passing the word, not necessarily centers, you know, spiritual centers, but being ministers who are out there doing the work. That was the
Hmm.
goal of Emerson New Thought Center, was having this church without walls, where you've got 80 people out there in various communities teaching this New Thought belief system. So that was
Hmm.
the goal, and it worked because it started growing real rapidly. And of course, you're part of that, which is we really love what you're doing. And but
Yeah.
that's how that all got started, and that's why it exists, was to provide a congregation for the church, for as a church, to meet all the legal requirements to have Emerson Institute.
Hmm. Hmm.
So it's the owner and operator of Emerson Institute, as is the Positive Living Center. So we literally have two 501c3s that oversee it. Now I'm on the board of both of them, as is some of our staff. So we can show that, yeah, we're married together, all of us. And
Hmm.
so I attend the Positive Living Center every Sunday on Zoom, and they have a church service. It's kind of cool.
And that's Reverend Sandy West, which is Missy's sister, correct?
Yeah, Sandy West took over when I was the head of that. I was the
Hmm.
senior minister, and
I've
so
actually caught that online a couple of times.
yeah. So when I decided to retire from that and just be 100% Emerson Institute, Sandy West came forward and said she'd like to take it over, which she did. She's been there ever since. It's been wonderful.
Hmm. Hmm. Thank you for sharing that. I wanted to ask you a little bit about Anton. I know that when I first met you, I was so confused as to how Anton and Emerson and Martha and Angelo and Stella all sort of fit into all of these networks and associations and organizations. And people, I think, still get a little confused. But if I'm not mistaken, I think you started Affiliated New Thought Network. And then can you sort of take it from there and tell us what happened and how that became?
Well, technically, I didn't. I wasn't the only one.
Okay,
There were
help us
like
out.
4 or 5 of us that got together in 1992 to decide that we need to start the organization called the Affiliated New Thought Network because it was growing so rapidly, this idea of the New Thought churches. So a group of us got together and decided to form a corporation called the Affiliated New Thought Network. So I get no credit for being the founder of that,
Okay, okay,
although I did attend the meetings.
okay,
But yes, it's a wonderful organization. From what I understand, there's over 135 members of that. You don't have to be a church to be a member. There are a lot
correct.
of individual ministers who are part. What I love about it, it's so cool, is that we can communicate with people of like mind. I think that's important too, and to communicate and to inspire each other, and to build up the confidence. Yeah, it's okay for us to go out there and talk about this. It's wonderful.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so that's what's happening. So I think the New Thought movement is really expanding because of the Emerson New Thought Center too, because we've got lots of folks out there now uh, passing the word. Because
Hmm.
we need to encourage people that they are so powerful as they're incarnated spiritual beings. My gosh,
It's true.
yeah,
It's true. That when I heard that I was one with God the first time, I was blown away by that, and that God resides within me. It was a message that just blew me away and changed everything in my life. So,
me too. I pray every day now, and what you do, you open yourself up to consciousness and the connection that we have to deal with gratitude. A lot of our people don't use enough gratitude. That which we're grateful for expands in our life. I
hmm,
mean, that's a universal principle, whether we like it or not. If we're grateful for fear, we get more fear.
exactly, it's true.
If we
It's
focus
very
on
true.
that, if we focus on the love energy, we get more love energy,
Hmm.
and so you get many opportunities to express love. But our duty assignment as human beings, I believe, is to get the
Hmm.
word out, to
Hmm.
remind people because as a practitioner, I'm one of the most powerful credentials that I ever got was become a practitioner,
Hmm.
even more so than being the religious science minister, being the practitioner, because we can affect what's happening in the field by convincing people that they are connected to all there is, and therefore, when we deal with people who come, I had a lady come into my office one day, and they're in Oakhurst, and she was swearing about her ex-husband, swearing, and said, she says, I'm ill all the time. I've got all its heart problems and all this. She says, and she said, would you pray for me? And I hated to say this, but I said, there's not much good I can do for you if I'm going to be just praying for you. And she said, well, and she was swearing about her ex-husband, and she said he left me and 2 kids. So she storms out. A couple of weeks later, she shows up and she says, "What do I need to do? Do I need to call him?" I says, "No, no. It's a consciousness issue. What you did. You Forgiveness is nothing more than you've taken away the love energy from something,
Hmm.
and so what you need to do is reestablish that love connection. And so forgiveness is reestablishing. It's like a contract. I
Hmm.
reestablish the fact that you are a life form of God, and so I love you. And that love is a connection, a recognition that you are part of this beautiful, you know, consciousness of love.
Hmm.
And so I think that's the direction I like to go in, and we've gone with the Emerson New Thought Center.
And it is that it displays that it radiates the love, and it's all because of you and your heart, Angelo, and all the people that are there affiliated with it. So thank you for that. Tell us a little bit about Stella and how she fits into your work and your daughters as well. And I know that Nicole has stepped up in the past couple of years and is sort of helping as well. Tell us a little bit about how they fit into everything with
Oh,
this.
it's been a family affair. Our daughter Anna is a teacher in Southern California, and she lives by this new thought, love energy as well. And she realizes that her connection to all that there is enhances what she's doing as a teacher. And so she's doing really well. Nicole, my goodness, she was just here, as you know. We're coming online now. She's a genius when it comes to electronics. I said, I need some of you because I'll screw this up every time.
I think she's still sitting off site somewhere right there, isn't she? Just in case there's trouble.
So she got us connected, and I'll be out just outside the door if you need. So Nicole she's an author too. She's written over 10 books now that it's on the Amazon. And they're not spiritual books; they're kind of ladies' books. But she's changing now. She's doing some mysteries now too. So she goes by Isla Dean. That's her.
Tell her I would like to have her on my show also sometime.
You need to ask
talk about her writing. Hopefully, she can hear us. So, but anyway,
it doesn't matter. I'll tell her that you said that though.
Okay,
yeah,
good.
She's an author. And she's really she used to work for CNN, by the way, before she got married. So she's knows business very well, and so she's been just a delight in our lives. I love her. Anyway, I know. So the two kids are now. Stella, my goodness, Hunter. If you don't have your wife supporting you in this business, you shouldn't be doing it because it's 24/7. It's just 24/7, and you get lots of phone calls. And I've had people drop by needing help when I was in the Oakers there, and I never know what my day would be like. Someday it was just counseling day after one person after another. There's so many people in pain because they don't realize how important they are in the scheme of things. So we try to connect people with their spirituality. But Stella's always there. She became a religious science minister as well. She's ordained. And just an awesome support for everything I do. I passed by her a lot of things I do because she's a critic as well. What I love
it's
about
good to
her,
have a critic.
She doesn't try to make me feel good. She says, here's the way it is, and here's what you need to look at. She's really wonderful. She's the monument in my life that helps me to do what I do, which is passing the word. It's our duty assignment for each of us in New Thought to get the word out. And that's true. What you're doing. I admire you, Brock. You're doing really good work.
I wouldn't be doing it without you, Angela, but we need to take a break. I'm a little bit late, actually, because I'm so enthralled in listening to you. But Peter, I believe we need to take a break for about 2 minutes, I believe. And then we're going, don't anybody leave. Y'all stay on your cameras. Don't leave. Run to the bathroom if you need to, get something to drink. And then we'll be back in about 3 minutes to finish up and get the rest of this amazing information coming from this amazing, wonderful friend of mine, Mr. Angelo. So we'll be right back in about 2 minutes. And we're back from the break with Reverend Dr. Angelo Pizzello and Peter Millar as my producer. And I'm Brock Ford again. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I can see Peter, my producer, through my little screen here. It looks like he may have a couple of questions he wanted to jump in and say to Angelo. Peter, if you want to jump in, you're welcome to.
Hello, Angelo.
Hello.
I was very interested. You were talking about getting people to understand that we are all children of the CEO of the universe, that we are divine. How can you tell me a little bit more about how you persuade people to really internally believe that? I can hear you tell me those words, and in my head, I can go, okay, that makes sense. But like Brock was saying, there's a real difference when it hits you in your gut and you go, oh my God, I get it. This is life-changing. How do you persuade people to really internally understand these truths?
I think using the word persuade is not a positive in this case. We're not trying to do it. What we're trying to do is have them self-realize the value that they are on this planet. Why are you here? That's the question a lot of people say, why am I here? Why am I experiencing this life form? Because we're here to experience our own creations as eternal spiritual beings. Now, what does that mean? And what I do when I talk to folks or counsel with them, I say, what have you done lately that you focused on that has expressed itself in your life? And not even one would not know. They would say, oh my gosh, when I think about this or that, or I was worried about getting in a wreck on the freeway, and it became a passion of mine to just, and then all of a sudden we hit a deer. And so we explain what that is that our thought processes, our energy, we're kind of an energy form of something. And, and so what does that mean? It means that our energy, our thoughts go out somewhere, because we know that if you focus on something long enough, I've had cases where we focus with someone who's got terminal cancer. We don't accept the word terminal, because, we have a divine energy here that's superior to anything and everything that confront us. But it's convincing people to check what they're doing, what they're thinking about, and seeing how whatever they're thinking about expresses itself in their lives. It's kind of interesting. I had a friend with terminal cancer of the spine, and I had this conversation with him, and he was his sister came to me one day and said, "You're a miracle worker." I said, "What are you talking about?" He says, "My brother has no cancer, no sign of cancer in his body." Now we talk about that. Now, if you go back to the same thinking, sure, you might be able to express that divine intervention there of healing. But if you go back to the thinking, you'll get it again. And sure enough, 7 years later, the person got cancer again. He fell into it, and then he finally passed from cancer. And so the idea is, and I think in a counseling situation, we need to, rather than persuade, we need to have people look at their own lives and what have they been focusing on, and to arrive at the conclusion that, my gosh, I've been focusing on this or that, and it's come through in my life. That's a step in the right direction to talk about the energy, the flow of energy, that we are. I like to say an energy spark. That my thoughts are energy, and that energy goes out into the universe, whether we understand this or not.
Right.
As it is. I know I use this a lot in my life, and I've had some tremendous results. Just recently, we've gone through some health issues, but I just put in there that I'm whole, I'm complete. I start the day in gratitude. That which we're thankful for expands in our life. I'm grateful for, and so what I convince people, take control of your life. It's through your thought processes that really create your experiences. And so I start the day, I'm grateful for this day and all the love and abundance that comes my way. It's as simple as that. And a person can tailor it to meet their own needs, but start the day like that. In other words, you're setting the tone for what you experience, because we need to have people look at their own experiences. And those people who are in trouble constantly focus on the trouble that they're in.
Sure.
And so that's, I think it's, I don't like the word convince necessarily. I think it's more of understanding and really waking up to how valuable you are as a human being, that we're
Sure.
here on purpose. And what is our purpose? My purpose is experience, and my wife always tells me, don't use the word enchilada, which is right. But I always say, I'm here to experience the whole enchilada of human life.
All of it.
All of it, and a lot of it's a pain in the butt,
Yeah.
It is. And you have all these people out there with their own rights to think the way they want. So we, as new thoughters,
Mhm.
need to be very clear that who we are expresses itself out there, and people will look at that and say, "Oh my gosh, how come this guy's always experiencing good things?" It's because he's
Right.
me. See, that's what I mean. And
Sure.
it sounds simple, but it really isn't. You work on it. In the Catholic Church, we used to have confession.
Right.
Practice on remembering all the bad things I've done in my life. It's contrary to what I'm talking about.
Wow.
Now
Yeah.
you focus on good things. Focus that
Mhm.
this love energy. Actually, what is the love energy? It's the God presence in our life. That's love. It's the
As you
presence.
describe this, I'm
And
reminded.
yeah.
Go ahead.
So I say, look in the mirror and you'll see God looking back at you through your eyes,
Right.
because you are that life form. And that, I think, reminding people, when you become a practitioner of this belief system, you realize that my main duty assignment is to remind people who they are. The people who come to us, they've forgotten. They think that they have to get something from the universe. What do you mean getting something? In other words, oh my gosh, my budget's failed. It's punishing me or whatever, whatever it is.
Mhm.
And no, there's only one creator. It's not the economy. It's not the creator. Is not even this life form. It's not the physical. The creator is what we call the divine presence. It's the only creator. So why focus on anything but that? So you go to that life force and you say, and you express what you want. I'm grateful for this day and all the love and abundance that comes my way. Yeah, pray it every day. Yeah.
Very good.
And that's
I've got a
that's
few dogs here you may hear barking in the background.
Well, dogs are souls too. Did you know that?
Oh, I believe it
Yes.
wholeheartedly. I
Yes,
love
sir.
dogs.
Yeah, they're God
Yes.
energy. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
of
they,
Peter
course.
Peter is a dog walker, and we board dogs. Peter boards dogs, so there's always dogs at the house, Angelo.
yeah,
So
dogs are they're wonderful beings, but they're
They are.
spiritual. They are very
They are.
spiritual beings.
We've got about 10 minutes left, so I'm going to quiet a few dogs while you and Brock continue your conversation.
Yeah, as someone looking in, is there anything else we should be focusing
Yeah. Well, no, as you were describing it, what I was remembering was many years ago, this is like almost 30 years ago, I was learning how to ride a motorcycle. And one of the things the instructors were telling us, because we would go out to these large parking lots and drive, on bikes around pylons and stuff. And the instructors kept telling us, the bike will go where your eyes are looking.
Right.
And I thought it was a clever way to say, keep your eye on the road, keep your eye on the road. And lo and behold, as you're going around these pylons, if you look to see if you clear it, the bike goes down right away. It literally goes where you're focused on. And that's always been a thing I remember is, oh, wow, if I keep it in my mind, I will go there. Just like the woman who complained about her ex-husband. Well, of course, if your mind is filled with thoughts of bitterness towards your ex-husband, you're going to live in that bitterness. If you can shift your mind is, what you're focusing on, you will move towards what your goal is.
Yeah, life goes where energy flows.
There you go.
Life goes where
Yeah.
Write that down, everybody. Wait a minute. Life goes where energy
Goes
flows. Is that
where
what you
it
said?
flows.
Yeah, the energy is this life form that we have it through thought processes. Our thinking are the energies that we send out into the universe. And so life goes where that energy goes, where the energy flows. So where we're thinking, that's the energy flow. will actually create our experiences. It's just as simple as that. And I can tell you in my 87 years on this planet, I can tell you that it works. I've had every situation that could possibly occur, including 14 years with the Marines. And I can tell you that when I go out there and on the stump, if I don't do much of that anymore, that I have experienced just about the whole enchilada. There we go.
Yeah.
Of what's going on in human drama. And it's a pain in the butt. But we can take control of what's happening to us. It's through our energy. Life goes where energy flows. If you're having a bad day, change your thoughts.
Right. Sure.
Anyway,
But no, I don't think I have anything to add to what you guys are saying.
I
I
keep
think
preaching to the choir.
No.
no, I am not the choir. I'm a helper. I'm a writer and an editor and all that. I don't have nearly the education Brock has with this. I approach this growing up. My relationship with spirituality was not particularly strong, and I was raised to experience spirituality as something critical, as something that you would like the confession. You have to focus on your misdeeds, and you have to be, contrite and all that. And so I have not considered myself a terribly spiritual person for the majority of my life. But New Thought, as I came to learn about it from Brock, that made sense to me. I think kind of like you were saying, as a sort of a fallen Catholic, maybe, and your friend introduced you to his New Thought church, his Science of Mind or Religious Science or whatever. Suddenly, this makes sense. It seems to me that spirituality and that sort of godlike mind space, if God is everywhere, if it is presence, if the divine is present in everything, it shouldn't be an effort. It shouldn't be a chore to access that and to experience that level of divinity, because if it's in everything and everywhere, it's there for the taking. And that's the earliest lessons I got out of hearing about New Thought and Science of Mind and unity and all these things that Brock was involved in. So, but that's about as far as I've gotten. So I'm learning as I do these things for Brock. I've got a lot to learn ahead of me.
Well, I will say this to let people know. Peter has come a long way, and he's been there by my side helping me through school at Emerson and all of those things as well. But Peter, I'll write my sermons, Angelo, and I'll come up with, a download, and I'll say, yeah, thank you, God, for that. And I'll write it down and everything. And then I'll hand it over to Peter, because he was a book editor, a school book editor. And I'll say, look at my sermon, look at my message, and tell me if I should change anything or make it sound better. And he always makes me sound more educated and better than I am, actually. But he'll say, oh, change this paragraph, put it over here, and move this paragraph over here, and don't use that word, use this word. And I'm like, well, thank you. So I help him with the dogs and walk dogs, and he helps me with my ministry, Angelo, and it's worked out really well.
Well, Peter, you're enhancing lives, whether you know it or not, as editor.
I'll take it.
And how much your influence is, you can't even measure it. It's replicable. It just keeps going and going. They talk to their children about it, etc. So it's wonderful.
Well,
you are a tribute to what's going on here. You really are.
Thank you. I find with Brock's sermons, because as I said, I sometimes still have this default reaction to approach spiritual messages with a certain amount of skepticism. That if Brock is working on a lesson and it's requiring me to take such a leap of faith that I can't really get it, there's no pragmatism, I guess, to it or something, then I'm like, Brock, I don't get it. I can't find a handle on this somewhere that I can grab onto. And I think that's what is very complimentary about the way Brock and I work, is that
Sure is.
If I understand what he's writing, if I go, oh, I get it, okay, I see, and you mean this, then I know that my contribution is that he's not having to persuade people, to go back to the word, not liking the word persuade. He's not having to try to persuade someone. It's evident, that it's just clearly practical. I'm not articulating it as well as I wish I could.
That was
right
pretty good.
now.
That was
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
It's good.
Okay.
And we're getting close to our time as well, y'all. We just got about 4 minutes or so. Angelo, we talked about practitioner, and I wanted to say something. It triggered something in me when you were talking about the practitioner program and being a practitioner. Having my master's from Emerson and my doctorates from Emerson is wonderful, and I'm so happy to have it, and thank God for it. But it's the practitioner certification that truly means something to me. Because I just, through Emerson and through Unity, growing up in Unity as well, I love prayer. It's my big thing. It's my thing, Angelo. And so, I wrote a prayer workshop. So prayer to me is that spiritual tool that I pull out for myself a lot. But you taught me how to pray. And you helped me become a practitioner and do treatments, is what we call them in religious science. And so I'd like to get a last thought from you, whatever you want to say to let anybody know before we end out today. And then before we close out, would you give us a treatment for today?
Be happy to.
Thank you. So the floor is all yours till the end of the show.
Okay. Basically, we don't have to, it's not complicated. Our belief system is not complicated. It's just reasonable. Mm-hmm. And I think we can't force it on anyone. And you don't have to have all kinds of rules and regulations. Just open yourself up to the idea that you're beyond just the physical, that you are this eternal life force. We call it God. That's okay. I call it love, the love energy. But I think just telling people about it without rules and regulations, just remember who you are. And that's the important thing of being a practitioner, is convincing people who they are. That's what we're all about. And so I'd like to end with a prayer. Can I do a prayer?
Please.
Sure.
Please. Thank you.
We have about a minute. Yeah.
Yeah, we got a minute, so I can do it in a minute, I think, and stop talking to the choir then. Yeah. Let's go forward. Let's go with it. And as we go forward from this wonderful session, we're grateful for the truth of our being, that we are eternal life forms of the divine, experiencing its creations as each of us. Our nature and the nature of the divine are one and the same. We are whole, we are complete, and in divine perfection now. And as such, we are, here it is, superior to any and all circumstances and conditions that confront us on this human journey. And so we're grateful. We're grateful for this truth of our being, and release us to the law of mind, knowing that it is so. And say with me, all of us, loud and clear, and so it is.
So it is.
And so
Thank
it
you,
is.
Angelo, for that. And everyone that's watching, Angelo, is it okay if I give out your email and your website?
Oh, you can do that, sure.
Angelo's email is Angelo Pizzello, P-I-Z-E-L-O, @me.com. Angelo Pizzello @me.com. And the Emerson website is emersoninstitute.edu. emersoninstitute.edu. Is there any other ways that you would like people to contact you or anything of that nature, Angelo? Is that good?
I get a lot of emails, and that's fine. I think this works like a charm.
Okay.
And I'm kind of still retired, but we have Missy out there, and
Angelo, Brock, I've got to sign us off right now.
All right, Angelo,